Welcome to episode 62 of the Princeton Podcast, produced by the podcast production team at HG Media, providing audio, video, and website design services here in Princeton since 1999. In this episode, our Princeton Podcast host, Mayor Mark Freda, welcomed Kim Kloss, principal at St. Paul School. During their conversation, Kim shared the rich 137-year history of St. Paul School, its deep-rooted Catholic values, and its welcoming community spirit. She described the school's evolution and how the role of the Sisters of Mercy has changed over time. Kim also discussed the school's commitment to academic excellence through programs including Project Lead the Way and a dedicated science lab, as well as a range of extracurricular clubs. She emphasized the school's inclusive approach, small class sizes, and focus on nurturing students both academically and emotionally, regardless of religious background. St. Paul School continues to be a vibrant part of Princeton's educational community, and we are fortunate to have Kim Kloss providing such dedicated leadership. So without any further introduction, let's join our host, Mark Freda, who will begin episode 62 of the Princeton Podcast by sharing a few announcements about upcoming events.
Here's some quick updates on events in Princeton in June. Cyclovia Princeton. So Cyclovia is basically an event where you get bikers, walkers, and you have a whole bunch of fun activities. The whole idea is to try to promote biking, walking, and get people out of their cars. So it's going to be a great event. It's on June 22nd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to happen on Walnut Lane, right in the area between the high school and the middle school, and also extend onto Franklin Avenue going towards Linden. So there'll be more on our website, so you can find out more about that. We're having a design contest to replace the kiosk that's at Van Deventer and Nassau. So if you're an architect or a New Jersey student, you can submit designs to give us suggestions on what a new kiosk could look at that location. More details on the website also. So we're hoping to get some good entries for that. Juneteenth is coming up. Juneteenth is June 19th. So we're going to have a flag raising at Monument Park, which is outside Monument Hall, the former Borough Hall. 1 p.m. for the flag raising. We'll have music and performances at the Princeton Festival from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. also that afternoon. So Juneteenth, is an event just to try to, remember the history of this country and try to say, Princeton is a town where we're not afraid to say, here's what's happened in the past. We acknowledge it and we're moving on from it. So, one of the things that makes Princeton a great place to be, we're not afraid to talk about stuff. For our young people, high school students, we have a youth advisory committee and the applications are now open for the 2025 to 2026 term. So if you're a area high school student, you can apply by June 20th. Go to our website for more information on that. And here's a really important thing when it comes to emergency services. We have just secured a new high water rescue truck. This truck is pretty amazing. You can actually drive this vehicle into 50 inches of water to get to somebody that might be stranded on top of their vehicle or whatever. But remember, when you see a road blocked off and it says high water, don't go in there. You're endangering your life and you're endangering the life of the people that have to try to rescue you. We don't want anybody's life endangered. But we've got this incredible piece of equipment, and so we're very happy that the governing body found a way to fund that. So anyway, those are some things happening. Let's jump into our podcast. Kim, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So let me start off with this question about St. Paul School. How old is St. Paul School?
St. Paul School is 137 years old, built in 1888.
Wow.
I know.
That is amazing.
It is amazing.
Okay, so another trivia type Jeopardy question. Where is it now, and has it always been in that location?
Currently, we are at 218 Nassau Street, and no, it has not always been at that location. Originally, the parish established the school in 1850, and it was in the basement of the church with the lay teachers, and that was at 182 Nassau Street. Then they moved to 214 Nassau Street. They renovated the existing building, and they added an addition to serve as the school. In 1878, Father Moran got the assistance of the Sisters of Mercy to administer the school.
Wow. Okay. So changing gears just a little bit, how long have you been the principal there at St. Paul's?
I'm just finishing my 7th year as principal.
Wow. Okay, so going back in the time machine, when I attended St. Paul's, which was a while ago, I'd say about half the teachers were nuns, Sisters of Mercy, as you mentioned.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that that's no longer true.
No, actually, sometimes I think that our children don't know what a nun is because they don't see nuns anymore. No, the nuns left St. Paul's School in 2016, and I started in 2018. So there have been no nuns there since I've been there.
Right. Okay. Things change.
Yes.
But the nuns were there for obviously quite a while. Is there history to that, or is there anything you could
There is
share
history
about
to that. The nun that I met maybe 3 or 4 years ago was Sister Teresa, and she is a legend to anybody who has worked at our school that knew her. She was the last nun, and she left in 2017. She moved to, after that, the nuns never really left though, and they became teaching assistants. So they couldn't do the work in the classroom, but they assisted until 2016.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
She did come back to visit us. We had a special time during retirement, and she was just lovely to sit with and talk to.
Yeah. Contrary to folklore, I would say that most of the nuns were pretty nice and easy to get along with. They're like in any group, there's always one or two that I think some of us remember and we're like, oh, not so much. But
I hear stories, and they make me cringe a little bit. But
yeah, very different.
Yeah.
So what grades are taught at St. Paul's now?
We teach pre-K 3 to grade 8. We have 1 pre-K 3 class, 2 pre-K 4 classes, and the pre-K 4 classes and the pre-K 3 class are in what was the old convent that was renovated. So we've taken over, I guess, their bedrooms, but they knocked down the walls, and it's really a beautiful spot. And that's where our pre-K is.
Wow.
And then we have 2 grades from kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when I was there, it was kindergarten through 8th, and two classes of each, as you said.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how many teachers and others are there, like, involved in educating the students now?
We have a pretty big staff for our size. We have 30 teachers, 1 school counselor, 1 reading specialist, and 1 science specialist. And that doesn't count administrative staff. 2 administrators, myself and Mrs. Rooney, who's my vice principal.
Right. Imagine that's a lot. So that's got to be a lot to do. 2 administrative people to run it.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So just focusing on the teachers for a minute, is there an average teacher today? I mean, how would you describe the average teacher at St. Paul's?
We actually have 2 types, if I can discern between the 2. When we have new teaching positions now, in the younger grades, it's kids out of college, quite honestly, that are looking for their first job. We're willing to give them a chance because you probably know that we don't pay what public schools pay.
Yeah.
So you really have to be a special person that wants to come to a Catholic school and teach, and you have to be committed. You don't necessarily have to be Catholic to work there or to come to our school, but you have to believe in what we teach.
Yeah.
And then we have people who did other jobs and say, now I want to give back. That they're really not concerned about the salary, but they're happy to be in a place where there's a great community and the Catholicity is there.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Very. All right, let me ask a little bit about you.
Okay.
Are you from this area, or where are you from?
Oh, if you listen to me, you'll know that I'm not from this area. I'm from Massachusetts, a little town outside of Boston called Winthrop, Massachusetts, a peninsula, really right outside of Boston. I grew up there. It was a great place to be. My family is all still there. My husband's family is still there, although we did not know each other. He's a little bit younger than I am. And from there, we moved to New Jersey in 1999.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you've been here for a bit now.
Yeah.
Where were you prior to coming to St. Paul's?
I worked at, so I live in Middletown, New Jersey, and my children went to Holy Cross School in Rumson. And after their first year, I was hired as a teacher there. So at Holy Cross School in Rumson.
Okay.
And I was there for 18 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And as a Catholic school, I wore many hats there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how is it being the principal at St. Paul's?
Honestly, I can't imagine a better fit for me than St. Paul's. I decided at age 57 to get my second master's degree. And then I thought, when I turned 60, what am I doing? And I got a phone call from Margaret Boland, who was an assistant superintendent of the diocese. And she called me one day and she said, I want you to go to a school called St. Paul's. And that was the next day she wanted me to go. And I met Monsignor Rosie, who you probably know, and Lee Brennan, who was our business manager at the time. And within 15 minutes, that's all it took. And I knew by the way they were, it was a place that I could be comfortable. And I knew as a brand new principal, I had done administrative, work prior to that. I was an assistant to the principal for a short time. But I knew that what I didn't know, they would help me figure out. And Mrs. Rooney, of course, I met that day as well. And since that day, you can't find a better peer. I couldn't find a better person to work with.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I do love the school. I love the families. I love the Catholic environment. And really, we work so well with the parish offices and the parish staff. We share some of the same administrative people. And it really has been a pleasure.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, I think it's important for school. I mean, every school says they have a mission. So what is the mission of at St. Paul's?
In our mission statement, it states that we are called to prepare students of character, spiritually, emotionally, academically, and socially. And that's our goal, to provide the highest level of academics in a Catholic setting.
There you go. That's a great statement. I will admit that I cheated and looked at the website a little bit. So
I hope it was up to date.
It was good.
Okay.
It was good. But I believe, if I read correctly, St. Paul's does have a STEM program.
We do have a STEM program. We use a program called Project Lead the Way, which is for students in grades K through 2. And our teachers are trained annually, and they really do a great job with the little guys. And it's a wonderful program. And then we have a science lab that we have our students from 3 through 8 go to. So not only do they have science every day, but then we have a dedicated teacher just for science lab. And she works with the classroom teacher, and grades 3 through 8 go to that once a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. You said that you don't have to be Catholic to teach there, and you don't have to be Catholic to attend there.
Correct.
Okay. So
Correct.
Any idea how many non-Catholic kids?
We have about 30% non-Catholics.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they like the structure that we provide. I like to think they like the environment, that from the day that we meet them till when they leave. Most of our interactions are good.
Yeah.
And we don't let them opt out of religion class. They can treat it as a history class if that's how they feel, but they learn. They certainly won't receive the sacraments,
Right.
which is fine, but they still go through the practice and all of that. And I think that it's the community that they're most enamored with.
So kind of related to that, are most of the students from Princeton, or how big an area does?
No, we probably reach, 10 to 12 different towns.
Really?
We have Princeton University right across the street.
Yeah.
So sometimes, most often, we'll have someone who is taking classes at Princeton for a year. Their children come to our school for a year. Mom, dad, they move on to wherever their jobs are taking them, and they leave. So we have a bit of that.
Yeah.
But it's nice because it brings different people into the school as well.
Right.
But we don't have busing. We only have busing from 3 different areas, but many of our parents are willing to make the drive.
Wow. Okay. So if I'm a parent thinking of what school to send my kids to, why am I going to pick St. Paul's versus, there seems to be a lot of schools in this area.
There are many private schools in this area, and they're all good schools.
Yeah.
They all offer something else. I like to think that when people come to visit St. Paul's, they get the sense of family and community right away. We welcome them in. We tell them they're ours. We had baccalaureate mass today, and Father Chris said to the graduates and their families, you leave, but you never really leave. And we welcome them back. When the kids go to high school, we can always tell when there's a day off in the public schools or even at Notre Dame, but we send a lot of kids to Notre Dame,
sure,
but also to many of the private schools in the area. We're very strong academically. And we can tell when there's a day off. All of a sudden there's a knock on the door, the buzzer rings, can we come in and visit? And we welcome them with open arms. But our academics, I can brag a little bit and tell you that our standardized test scores are very high. And we have a record of them continually being high. There's academic rigor, but there's also a nurturing that they know the teachers will know every student's name. We greet the parents. I'm out there in the morning. Mrs. Rooney's out there in the afternoon. They see us. They can talk to us. I had a parent come in for a meeting, and I had 3 people in the room, and she just looked at me and she said, I'm not going to get this anywhere. And that's what we love the kids like they're our own. I always tell the kids when they go on a field trip, I said, by the way, you're like my children. I want you to come back safe.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's an important aspect that you don't get at every school.
Yeah.
Kim, how many students are at St. Paul's?
Currently, we have 297 students that we started with at the beginning of this year, and that's from pre-K to grade 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that number's pretty consistent, I guess?
That number's pretty consistent. I would always like it to be better.
Yeah.
But yes, that's a consistent number.
Okay. So if I'm a parent and I'm picking a school to go to, what is the process? How do I find out about St. Paul's?
I think, we advertise in social media. Yeah. We have a great person who does that for us. She wears many, we all wear many hats, and that's one of hers. People will call. We have open houses every month. We advertise those. We ask people to speak word of mouth, of course, and we get a lot of referrals from our families that are here. They'll sign up for an open house, or if they don't want to come to open house, then they can get an individual tour as well. And I have someone coming in next week for an individual tour the last week of school. It's hard to do that but we do get people that come in over the summer as well. They take the tour, then they decide whether it's something that they want to apply for. So they'll fill out an application, we take a look at it, and then we say, okay, we have to come in and have them shadow. We used to do 2 days to come in and shadow, but now we'll take one because it's just really busy to get people to come in.
Yeah.
The child will come in and shadow. The teachers who are with the student that day will give recommendations. And then we also take a look. Then if they make it that far, which most do, or sometimes it'll come right back and they'll say, don't think it's going to be a good fit. And then we have to look at why. But then we get their records from the schools that they come from, and then we look at it. And we look to see if we can serve their needs, basically.
Right.
Yeah. It's a long process. It's not a sign up and here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it sounds like it's a good process.
It's good. We don't do any formal testing unless there are flags that tell us we should.
Right.
But and then we can also see how they can interact with other children during the school day, how they are out on the playground when they don't know anybody. But again, Mrs. Rooney's out on the playground, so she makes sure that all the interactions are good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's important knowing that the school's actually trying to make sure the school's a good fit for the student.
It has to
potential
be.
student.
We could take so many and then just turn them out a year later because we can't serve their needs or we're not what they wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's one I think that a lot of parents have opinions on at schools. Is there a cell phone policy at St. Paul's?
Yes, and I actually find it interesting because I know in the news they all talk about cell phone policies. Now, I'm not a high school, so we're elementary school. But our policy is very simple. They can have a phone, it has to be off, and it has to be in their backpack. If they need to use their phone, they have to ask permission, and then they'll come to the office to do it. If they're found using their cell phone at inappropriate times, that cell phone comes to me. and their parents have to come in and get it. And if it happens again, they're not allowed to bring the cell phone to school.
Yeah.
To me, it's not that hard.
Right.
Those are the rules. That's how it is.
Yeah.
And our kids are very good with it, actually. They'll be out in the car line at the end of the day. Can I call my mother? Yes, you can call your mother.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we like them to have phones we call it going into town. At the end of 6th grade and 7th and 8th grade, we allow the students to leave school with parental permission. And it's nice that we know that there's a phone, that if they can't reach their parents, they can always reach us if there's a problem.
Right.
So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Kim, let me just ask you one or two other questions I think that potential parents would be interested in. Is there an average class size?
Yeah, our average class size is between 12 and 16 per class, with 2 classes per grade. We're happy with that. We could add a couple more, but we really don't want many more because we like the individual attention that gives to the student.
Right, which is very important.
Yeah.
So, and what about financial aid if somebody's going to have a hard time affording the tuition?
When we take the application process that we talked about before, we don't ask about finances. And then when it comes time to commit to the school, people will ask. There is a financial aid process. We do give financial aid. The diocese provides it through an application process. And then if there are still families that's not enough, or it just is not going to happen that way, we are subsidized by our church. Our school budget is not nearly met by tuition. So we're fortunate that parishioners at St. Paul are very happy to support us. And we have programs there that we will give extra financial aid if it's deemed necessary.
Right. Good. Thank you. Anything on the horizon for St. Paul's? Any changes or additions coming up?
It's difficult because we don't have space.
Yeah.
And sometimes people will say, where's the field? And I say, it's in the cemetery in the back, which we're proud of that we have. That actually provides, we did all the flags for Memorial Day.
Yeah.
And we do that every year. We work with the Knights of Columbus to make sure that happens. We can't make the building any bigger, but we can for programs. So we're working on a grant right now we have a 3D printer. I've been told by my teacher that it's archaic now because we brought it in right when I first came. So we're working on a new program in STEM for that. And I'm assuming that we'll get the grant because it's from the diocese. So hopefully that's a plan for us as well. Our library, the library's still there, but there's no one manning the library. So sometimes teachers will bring in, we're still kind of like the old school that I like the kids to pick up a book and read, or they can find a place where they can sit. We have some kind of nooks in there. So my initiative for next year will be to get volunteers to come in and man the library because there's certainly not money in the budget to do that.
Right.
Yeah. And we are always updating our technology. So during COVID, there was money that was available that allowed us to put Promethean boards in all of our classrooms. So that could be the only plus that I can tell you from COVID was that we were able to get funding for that. And we update the technology as soon as it comes out. Chromebooks, we have 1-to-1 from grade 6 through 8, and we will continue with that.
Yeah. Technology's tough to keep up with because
Technology's tough. It goes so fast.
So rapidly.
Yeah. And this year, again, with a grant from the diocese, we were able to add clubs. Where we maybe only had 1 or 2 clubs last year, we probably had 10 clubs this year. And the funding was to help support the teachers to want to work after school and provide it. And that was great. That took off. And we will be adding more clubs next year as well. We got a grant from Hess Trucks, and they sent us the trucks, and the kids could learn how to build them. So we had a wide variety of activities.
Yeah.
I also would like to see instruments in our music program. Small instruments, ukuleles, recorders. So that's something that I hope to start next year as well.
Yeah. Do the kids still do a yearly a yearbook every year?
Oh yeah, Mrs. Bridgke, she does it. This year it was games. The whole cover is Monopoly, Scrabble, all on the cover, and the children. There's pictures of everything, as you can imagine. I know you know Mrs. Bridgke.
Yeah.
And she does a great job with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because related to that, the reason I asked is that when I was in 8th grade, we had That was the first year there was a yearbook
Oh, no kidding.
for St. Paul's. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I still have that.
I didn't know that.
Now that
well,
I said
Mrs.
that,
Britschke has.
I'm going to have to go look for it.
You're
Make sure
going
I
to have
do.
to find it. What year was that?
1970.
Okay, I'm going to make that note and make sure we have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for joining us today. This has been really good. We've been trying to talk to just about every school in Princeton, so this has helped us quite a bit. So thank you.
Well, that's wonderful, and it's great to be here with you.
Thank you for joining us for the 62nd episode of the Princeton Podcast, produced by the podcast production team at HG Media, providing audio, video, and website design services here in Princeton since 1999. If you enjoyed this episode of the Princeton Podcast, please share it with your friends. Visit our website at princetonpodcast.com and be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, Audible, or wherever you listen to podcasts.